This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
Welcome back to the Lost Dollar Business Club. Today it is a crypto special, which probably means some rabbit holes as well. Talk about Trump and crypto obviously triggers some people. So we got a lot to talk about. And I've brought in an expert who is based in the UK, who I've connected with on LinkedIn, and Nick and David at back, of course, beautiful men. So we're looking forward to getting into that. But David, just before on, you're going to run something for us for the listeners to kind of take note of.
Yes, unfortunately, it's one of the great supporters and one of the very early ladies that we interviewed for 2OF. You can find her on the 2OF Classic interviews on the website. Lovely lady makes candles, but her husband's very sick. So we're just going to run this, see whether or not we can help and support the family.
Hi, everybody. This is Steve from 2OF Entertainment. We have a friend of ours that does candles. And you've seen her be interviewed. Her husband is being overwhelmed with medical bills because he has stage 4 cancer. And since she's part of the 2OF family, she has started a GoFundMe page. And what we'd like to do is say, if you can find it in your heart, if you can give them a few dollars, that would be great to help them with his cancer fight. Please join us in showing them love and the support that the 2OF family likes to show people who have been on the show. Once again, thank you very much.
Lovely stuff. It's very important.
So very important. And as I say, lovely lady, and was wonderful. And through her, we met some other guests as well. So she's always promoting us to the point that you can actually get a 2OF scented candle. What it smells like, I don't know. Haven't got one. But you go.
I need to get a 2OF hat as well. Basically, I have my Whole Man Academy one here. But
well, we'll have to get you a Lost Dollar Business Club cap.
Yeah, I'm well up for that. Well, for people listening, you'll have your own views on crypto. We'll bring our guest in, and then I'll kind of launch into how, where, why, what our thoughts are, and what to talk about for crypto. Let's bring him in.
Okay.
Hello. Welcome, brother.
Afternoon.
Great. Before we launch into kind of why I've asked you to come on, it's crypto is one of those things that, again, I've found in the last 5 years. I mean, I started hearing about crypto when I worked in the city. That's probably 13 years ago I first heard of it. And there was a machine just down near our office that you could go and buy a Bitcoin, and it would print something out. And we were like, sounds like a load of nonsense to me. But I remember at the time hearing one of our clients had bought a large amount of, he had lots of money, was multi-millionaire, but had bought apparently a large amount of Bitcoin 13 years ago. And I'd always love to know if he kept hold of it, because if he wasn't rich then, he would have absolutely creamed it by now. But give the people listening kind of a brief background on your experience with crypto.
Okay, well, I mean, I came from a fairly traditional systems engineering background. I used to work in the city, so I used to work in telecom for various telecommunications giants, and I started working for financial services customers, right? Because you sell pieces of fiber, those connect two places, you get better latency, you can do high frequency trading. So this interested me. And then we had COVID, right? And a lot of money started coming or going into everything, right? So that was a lot of fun then, right? It was a very good community internal to crypto. There are a lot of new protocols coming out, and we had a bit of naivety back then, right? Like people trusted one another, I guess. And now probably not so much, right? So then it was very good to kind of be early, right? So you always talk about being early. You talk about your chap, yeah, and I think to a certain extent, the industry took advantage of that, right? And you had a lot of early stage startups, and I think the incentives just went a bit awry, and that's why I can understand people being very circumspect. In fact, I was telling people, don't invest in crypto now, right? Don't, because the incentives are off. Like when people launch their token now, they get all the money. They should only get money once they're producing revenue. Is my personal perspective. So I mean, I think we just went a bit off the rails. But I don't think all is lost. I think we have a similar thing with AI at the moment. They're overbuilding. You've got all the VCs talking about, 90-95% jobs gone. That's just fear mongering. I think we'll get to, like, I saw a very interesting thing. Perhaps 30-35% of jobs by 2035 will be done by AI, right? I think it's more reasonable. But all this kind of fear mongering, you build a lot of infrastructure. So the infrastructure might not be doing the turnover at the moment, but we still use it. So we can talk about it in a disparaging way, but, all this kind of hype has built all this infrastructure. Whether or not it's investable to the multiples that were kind of put forward before, I don't think so yet. I don't think we've got the throughput. It's exactly like telecom, where they built everything went bust, and then. But I mean, it doesn't. It's not really the technology that's at fault. It's kind of the incentives, how the incentives kind of played out. So now, I just trade derivatives because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
I trade long and short. I don't, mostly short. So, that's what makes. I mean, I still make money from it, but I mean, it's become a lot more like any market, right? It's become a lot more kind of aggressive, and I mean, it's just all kind of flow based. Everything's kind of, nothing's fundamental analysis anymore. Everything's just kind of distracted. Yeah, but I mean, that's every market, right? I think.
I was just going to say, I know, compared to other markets, it will seem still in its infancy. And I would wager that, probably like you'll agree, most people, like if you went out to your local, to Brighton High Street, or for me in the Cotswolds, still 99% of people will probably have heard of Bitcoin, but they couldn't name you either a platform to trade on, how it works. I still speak to people now that say, well, can you actually trade like Bitcoin and actually convert it to real money? And you because I don't pretend I'm an expert, but I've been reading about it for years, that you still feel like it's so early on. I know big companies are getting involved in it, but the man on the street, there's mass adoption is still a long, long way away.
Yeah, you can absolutely trade it for money. I think that's the problem that we have now is the friction. So I mean, whenever I speak to a company, the only companies that really get me excited in crypto are the ones who are pulling down that friction and are able to kind of generate that trust, because it is useful. Like you see people talking about stable coins now. Like I genuinely use stable coins for remittances, and I'm sure Nick probably does too, right? It's a lot better. I mean, I speak to my FX pals and they say, oh, Swift's going to improve, et cetera, but it really is better for remittances, and particularly if you have a weaker currency, like which is most currencies except the franc at the moment, you're holding in dollars, right? So you can kind of move it around in that kind of sense. So yeah, you can. I mean, I live on crypto. Yeah, like I don't have any other income. Yeah, like it's 100% crypto. Like any derivatives money I make is usually in USDT. I take that USDT. You can take it through a platform like Coinbase, and it's basically like switching dollars to pounds, and that goes straight to my bank account.
Yeah,
it takes like less than a minute, and you can be anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Well, that's a really good point to come on to, and I'm going to speak to Nick about his views on crypto, but I want to touch on the difference between the mainstream coins and then privacy coins, just because a few years ago I started getting interested in Monero and Pirate Chain and Dero and all the different ones, and understand that liquidity is a problem, but if that improved, it could be an interesting way to transact without Mr. Middleman putting his sticky fingers in and trying to watch what you're doing and where you're putting your money. So we'll come on to that in a second. But Nick, what's your where are you on crypto, and what you love it, hate it?
Yeah, I think for as a platform, I think we from our team, we're using it for NFTs and for the platform itself. So trying to, certainly, I mean, Dave and I have walked a path together when it comes to trying to support artists, and really almost using the blockchain. I suppose we more leaning towards blockchain and the contracts, right? So having that on a social platform or on a platform which is fully visible, and then being able to attach value to that. So we're supporting artists and we're supporting clients when it comes to loyalty programs, attaching it to something which is fully visible. So I think from a base structural point of view, we're really excited about it. When it comes to the trading and things like that, we don't really get involved in that. Certainly I haven't, from a personal perspective, haven't delved into that. But Stephen, from your perspective, like, trading the derivatives, I think that's, no matter which market you're going to, the smaller gains to kind of support, a small businessman or something like that, I think is really cool. We've just looked at it from a perspective of really trying to link an asset or link something in the digital space which cannot be manipulated or moved. And so that's really where we found the biggest value. And then having a look at that and how do we apply that into loyalty programs, because clients at the moment are all looking at loyalty programs. So our larger clients are looking at how we take that and apply blockchain into there. So slightly left of crypto, as it were, but also on the same platform or same base.
Nice.
Yeah, I think with those kind of wrappers that you use, I think they're very cool, but they do need to have license. I think they've done this in the UAE, where you can actually transact property, but it needs to be linked to all the parastatals and it needs to be done really well, as opposed to being a derivative. Yeah, because a lot of wrappers turn up as derivatives as opposed to being real license. So but I mean, it's cool if we can get there, and obviously that's the direction, but that's what I would support in going there. You wanted to talk about privacy coins. Yeah. Okay, well, like for me, privacy coins are the one, apart from stable coins, are the one real use, right? So if you understand where crypto comes from, crypto came from a cypherpunk background. Okay, so cypherpunk is understanding algorithms, encrypting stuff. It's a bit hacky, so that whole kind of 90s culture, right? And to a certain extent, the people internal to the Bitcoin community, we think the CIA's got involved, right? And they're kind of they've done certain things to Bitcoin to ensure that it's not totally private, right? So you got a lot of these companies that track and trace, and they have a very big business about this. People using conjoins and Sedgwick and all these Bitcoin technologies, and they're saying, "Hey, we can still find you. We're very clever." Okay, so some of the cypherpunks then moved on to something called Monero. Okay, so Monero is different to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is not fully fungible. So fungible means anything can be changed for anything, right? Like dollar notes aren't fungible necessarily because they got a serial number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, there's that fungibility which you can get dirty Bitcoin is the problem, right? So someone shifted some money around, they were involved in terrorism or did something awful, right? Then it'd be forever tainted. The nice thing about Monero is it's fully fungible, so you can't even see the resender, you can't see the amount, you can't see where it's gone, where it's been. There's absolutely nothing, right? There's a block explorer, so you can talk about how many confirmations it's gone through, but the rest of it's completely obfuscated,
which is exciting.
Right? So it's very cool. I mean, the only thing is for me is I don't want a currency to go up and down like a yo-yo. Okay, so XMR has been chucked off a whole bunch of different exchanges, right? Because basically, to me that says it works, right? Because they got taken off Binance, they got taken. The only place that still keeps them is KuCoin now. All the major exchanges have now got rid of them, even Wobi, right? And these are big exchanges, and they don't want to hold Monero because it creates a problem for them, and they ask for additional KYC, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, it definitely works, and there's a whole kind of broad spring about Monero for people who you're more kind of anarchist leaning or libertarian. I should say libertarian. You don't necessarily need to be anarchist, right? I think there's a good tradition of libertarianism internal to the UK, which is why this basically Monero is built by the Americans, the British, and the South Africans, right? There's a guy in Pleasant Bay who's Fluffy Pony. He used to head it up. There's a bunch of guys who were Bitcoin devs who are now working on DarkFi, involved in Monero, that he's in the UK based. So, I mean, these are all kind of freedom-loving societies, believe in libertarianism, right? So I think particularly now for us, I think it's even if, this whole idea of, if you don't have something to hide, why hide it is a load of rubbish. Yeah, like we're all entitled to our privacy. And, I'd rather give liquidity to these protocols that are, that they're performing a function. I don't need the state to know and see everything. The whole thing about ID cards freaks me out. You can see where I'm going with that, right? So that's just kind of my bulwark. Is I like to use these protocols. Yeah.
You've said there's something that in the UK a year or two ago, several banks blocked you sending any money to crypto exchanges, which I thought was incredible. If you wanted to send money to like TSB, I think it was NatWest, Barclays, they basically said, we will block you sending, pounds to the crypto exchanges, which tells you that there's a sense of control there somewhere, which I didn't like, because it's funny how when they blocked it, they said, because we're keeping your money safe for you because we care about you. Thank you so much, banks. But it's funny because they don't mind you sending it as much money as you want to betting exchanges, which of course, 3 years ago, if you'd have bought Bitcoin, you'd be up from it now. Whereas if you'd spunked a load of your money on Bet365 and Betfred and what have you, you'd have probably lost it by now. So I struggle to believe the banks were doing it because they really care about their customers. I believe it's because, of course, they don't want money flowing out of their banks into anything other than that. And, a small percentage would go to privacy coins. But I thought it was an interesting move to actually block you from making transactions to Coinbase. It's not like it's some trader, a dodgy black website or something like that. David, thoughts on where you are with crypto? Because I know you know about NFTs.
Yeah, well, I come from the same place really as Nick. We stepped into this really on the blockchain side of it. Although I had a guy who worked for me 20 years ago, and he was buying Bitcoin at $1.10, and he said, I've just spent $50 on buying crypto. So he's now living in Poland. So we're having the time of his life. So good luck to him.
Yeah.
The whole digital thing, the whole digital ID. I mean, whole of Europe, we all have digital IDs here. You can't do anything without it. I don't really see that's that's a little bit of a form of populism. Sorry, Stephen, if it sort of steps on your toes. It's all too late. The genie's out of the bottle anyway. Whether or not you have a digital ID or not. Banks know what you're doing. The government knows what you're doing. And as regards to banks and crypto, as we all know, they've been dealing in crypto for years, but they've been behind the curve as regards to commercializing it. And now all of a sudden, they want to have a crypto pound, they want to have a crypto this or a crypto that. But yeah, the money doesn't exist anymore. It's all ones and zeros. So I can't really see what all the drama is about, other than the fact that, hey, I'd much rather, if I was going to help you save your money, I'd like you to put it into my wallet first. That seems to be the bottom line.
I tell you what frustrates me is, go on, Nick.
I was just going to say, so on the back of what you just said, David, I mean, Stephen, Cash gives us privacy, right? So at the end of the day, like that's one of the reasons why cash is so sort of cash is king, as they say. But a lot of the both governments and banks are trying to move away from that, trying to get us all digitally banked. And sure, it's a whole lot easier because you can move things around a lot easier, but there's a whole lot more control that comes with that. And Monero kind of gives us power, I guess. What's your view on sort of where they're aiming to ban privacy coins? And do you think that's like the state's way of killing off that last tool to transact freely in the digital space? Or is that an oversimplification of the crypto space? What are your thoughts?
Well, they have banned Monero, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because of the blockchain, you can still interact. There are loads of places like Trocador. If you go on Trocador, and that's a clear website, you don't even have to go on the dark web. you can get multiple quotes for Monero, yeah, from exchanges like Xcode, etc. But I mean, the average person won't know to look there. But them effectively banning Monero has done a couple of things, right? It's solidified people's resolve, and Monero gets attacked all the time, right? So that's good for Monero people because they want to be attacked. They want to ensure that it's sound, right? But it's also stabilized the price. So there's less derivatives traffic on it. So it's better. So I don't sweat if I'm holding Monero, right? So it doesn't swing around so much. I'll just do a bit of DCA, etc. Don't hold a lot. I'll just use it when I'm moving money around, right? And then they can't get into Monero. Yeah, that's the one thing that they can't get into, and that's what drives them nuts. Okay. The only thing they have done is if you don't run a full node, they've built edge nodes which can then see internal. But if you run a full node on your computer, as long as you have good kind of hygiene around your computer, etc. There's a whole if you're using Microsoft, you're probably being watched or whatever. But they won't actually see any of the Monero transaction at all. So as long as your ends are sanitized, there's absolutely nothing they can do, and they certainly can't stop the transaction. So basically, it's a bridge to nowhere, which is what I like. So yeah, to me, if we're talking about all these digital IDs and control of your money, like hearing those instances in Australia where the guy went to go and draw money, and like they asked him, "What's it for?" And he's just going to like wax my crack or something. It's like he's making you just have to kind of go with it. Yeah. So it's getting a bit ridiculous. Yeah. So I think we need to kind of resist a little bit. I think if we don't, they're just going to run all over us, right? They're going to say, "Oh, it's for your convenience." You see exactly how that works, right?
Your own good.
Stephen, can I just ask you
what they've done in China
are?
with
You've used the word "they" on repeated occasions, but you haven't defined who they are. Who are they?
Oh, to me, like, geez, I'm going to sound really schizophrenic now, but
that's what you're on the show. That's what you're here for, mate. So
you can't sound here, mate.
So only, yeah.
We'll talk to the other. We'll talk to the other guy if you can't answer.
Well, yeah, you can. To me, right, there's this whole thing about a multinational kind of elite. Okay, and I think obviously we're involved in that in the UK, and we're involved in that in the US, right? And I think the last chance to kind of divert from that was JFK. So I think JFK wanted to come out and he wanted to say, we don't want to go this way, but they assassinated him on the basis of that. And I think he was killed by the CIA or whatnot because of everything that happened after the Second World War. All the governments got in with the mob, okay, and that was kind of, they got all this kind of dirt on Hoover, like Hoover was a raving queen. It was very bad for him at the time, and they kept it all suppressed for years and years, right? But they used that to kind of control him. And then they, being this kind of multinational organization, learned that what you can do is you can control people with shame, So that's why they went from controlling people with women, and I think that's involved with child trafficking now, to be honest. Yeah. So I think that is actually happening. Yeah. We had that in we've had Epstein Islands. You had this issue in South Africa too, which they had in Mark Minnie. He did an investigative journalism, and he got off by the state. And it's all the high ups, yeah. It's all these guys who are sitting in government, and they have dirt on them. I don't think you get into power in any country now unless they have dirt on you. Yeah, I don't think it happens. I think everyone that can ascend to a particular level, otherwise they take you out. Yeah.
I'm still a bit concerned about the they, because I mean, how can I find they? Do they have a website or something that I can go to? I mean, it's a very sort of like, well, let's throw they out there. I mean, I'm not trying to trip you up or anything. It's just that if people are listening to this, the Lost Art Business Club, and you're referring to they're going to be equally as stupid as me and not really quite know who they are. So,
well, I mean, look, I'm not one of they, so I can only say what I think is happening and what.
Thank you. I appreciate. Yeah, please. That's it.
That there was. There's been investigative journalism on this, and basically they think it's loose, it's factional. So they've got the various factions which are vying for control over the world. So it's not a uniform they. But behind every single government, you've got about 80 different heads of they who can kind of control these heads of government. So yeah, I mean that's yeah. I mean, I think this is why we, post the GFC, why things have gone this way, right? It's just been this kind of steady descent as, we've had they fighting for power, vying for control, while things have just generally kind of got worse for the rest of the populace. So, I mean...
It's certainly got worse in the UK.
It's got worse everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a really good point because... again, talking last night to some guys in my kind of membership, we mentioned one or two points of this, and one or two said about, I don't think you can have a crypto discussion at the moment without mentioning Mr. Donald Trump, just because I wonder for you, do you think, because he's come out and felt like it's pro-crypto, which of course pushes the numbers up, do you think at the moment that he is good for crypto, bad for crypto, or somewhere in between?
I mean, it's good for me because it brings volatility, but I don't think he's good for crypto. I think all he did was he threw into meme coins. He extracted some money, and then he's got his family saying, "Hey, buy now," and it could shoot straight down. So I mean, I don't.
Good old pump and dump. Good old pump and dump. That's what we like.
Yeah, terrific pump and dumps now, right? That's the whole market, which is why.
But he was very anti, of course. He was totally anti-crypto. No crypto. It's all Ponzi. It's all bad. And then, of course, when he was trying to get into power this second time round, a lot of these crypto boys said, "Well, we could give you some money," and because he's obliged to show where most of his money for the campaign was coming from, because being paid in crypto, as Stephen was alluding to, that's not always, shall we say, visible. So, and all of a sudden, then Trump has become a huge crypto fan, and and of course did with Melania coin and the Trump coin.
There are two things behind that. Sorry. I mean, there are two things behind that, right? There is his core voters, because I think the millennials sort of came up as a voting bloc, and a lot of them are interested in crypto. So I think their signaling needs to be pro crypto, and that's why he always says, "Oh yeah, crypto this, crypto that. We're very pro." And then when he came out with his strategic reserve, and he said, "Oh, we're not actually going to buy any. Yeah, we're going to take Silk Road's money and put it in the strategic reserve." I mean, it's a bit flat. Yeah, I think what the US is interested in is in stable coins, right? Because most stable coins, like 99% of them, are denominated in the dollar, right? So what that does is it massively increases velocity of the dollar. And what do those stablecoin issuers do? They buy treasuries. So I think that is their real interest, and I think that is a real interest because it soaks up all this issuance, right? But apart from that, I mean, it's just pump and dump extraction, yeah. So yeah, but like real interest in stable coins, no real interest in anything else. I don't think. I think he likes the markets going up. I think it's an ego thing, and he knows when to invest, and he has inside information, like they all do when they're in power, right? The Dems had that too, with stocks. So I think
I interviewed a chap called Max Wright, who has a good YouTube channel called The Contrarian Dude. I interviewed him a few years ago, and we talked about the banking system and basically how the further you trace it back, there's various factions that are controlling for control, I guess. But we also talk about where you see it going, and he sees long term it going north. Up to hundreds of thousands upwards from there. Where do you see it at the moment, like in the next year? Because it's obviously when it's at an all-time high, do you get that period where in a way you'd rather something steady, that the price stays steady for a while, which embeds that number into people instead of it going up and, and back down again? Like, do you think in this coming year we'll see 100,000 way above that, or where do you think we'll go to?
Well, I think we're going to dump to about 96 now. So if you look, most of things in crypto, it targets liquidity, right? Particularly on weekends, it goes up and down, it targets liquidity. I think we're going to dump to just below 96K. I think Ethereum probably about 2.8, just wipe everyone out. Yeah, just take out all the longs, wick them out. You get a nice fresh slate. There's too many people have been bullish. Once they've wicked them out, they'll probably take it up to 140, 150. But it just probably once they turn the liquidity spigots on, I think October, November, December, we can pick up again. I think it's going to be nuking all month. I'm just 100% short at the moment, so I think it's a way to go. But
I just like to interrupt by saying that we're not offering financial advice.
Absolutely not.
On the Lost Dollar Business Club, please. It's not what the program's about. But obviously we're interested in people's opinions. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, it's an opinion, right? So that's how I'm trading. Okay.
Yeah.
What I've loved is, this is the pattern. And I have no data to back this up, so it can't be asked. But here's what I found funny, is that when crypto would be rising, and then it would finally reach a number and then drop down, you'd have lots of people, crypto's a scam and it's this and it's that. And then they'd all go quiet when it goes back up again to another all-time high. And then it'd be like, it's a scam, it's whatever, and then it drop down again. And I've watched that from 2,500 was in US was when I first started looking crypto properly and paying a lot of attention to it. And it's it's so funny how a lot of my friends have shut the fuck up now, because when you got to 10,000 and then it dropped, it was like, I told you. Then it was 25, I told you so. And once you get to 6 figures, you're like, I get bored of hearing it. So Nick, I don't know if you've found that as well.
Yeah. It's fascinating, but I think it's always right. The trolls always come out when there's something to be spoken about, and it also, to Steven's point, I think the pump and dumps are all controlled in a way to be able, for those who are there. So I think it all comes into the media at a time when it's needed, and it's always, for me, useful to step back and look at exactly what's going on somewhere else rather than where all the attention is going. So that for me is a big trigger, and that's just generally in what I do with these sort of things. So I agree.
Steven, where do you think it, if you had to pick a number where you think someone would think you're nuts for saying it could get that high, but do you have that thought that some people I follow would say you could be talking of it going to $500,000 or $1 million?
Do you understand how big Bitcoin is now, just in terms of market cap? It's like the third largest company in the world, right? So the amount of money to get it is trillions upon trillions. I mean, that's just nuts. Yeah, I think at most you could double it, but I mean, yeah, at most you could double it. I mean, I don't know if all that money would come into Bitcoin. See, Bitcoin, long term has got issues because people just hold Bitcoin, they don't transact with it, right? And then you've got this halving, which everyone's very happy about, but that pays people, and people have built all this kind of hash. So at the moment, Bitcoin is really, 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 really strong protocol because it has these terabits of hash, right? So it's highly secure, no one can take it over. The problem is, once you get the issuance down, how do you pay the miners, right? So it kind of, I mean, we'll just change. I'm sure we'll change, but I mean, there are dynamics further down the road. I think that a lot of different cryptos want to be the next Bitcoin, and they can kind of just thought, oh, well, Bitcoin doesn't have any real kind of use. We can just think of it as money, and just tried that idea. But there are too many people trying that idea. Look, I mean, 200K. I know, just in terms of the cost is really enormous. Yeah, that's the biggest company in the world. That's I don't know. We'll see.
I have the feeling, sorry, Andy, I have the feeling about Bitcoin is a bit like gold. You know, it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be there. You don't walk around with bars of gold in your pocket because it's, you know, it's not practical. You know, just the fact that it weighs too much. And that'll be the same with Bitcoin. There'll be something that comes out of crypto, which will be a lot more fluidity in it, which people can understand and are happy to trade. You know, and you'll be able to go and pay for it in the supermarket. But yeah. Well, yeah. But it depends on whether or not, you know, somebody coming for the alternative circuit, or it'll be the international banks again. You know, when the UK brings out the crypto pound and
Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, I mean the Bitcoin. There's already a crypto euro. So yeah.
What a time!
But while the whole world's sort of, you know, surviving on funny money, black money as they call it in Holland, funny money, you know, that ain't going to happen because.
It's a good point because I don't know if we were recording or we were just in the green room, as it were, when we joked about, you know, when you lose power. I think we weren't recording that point, that you realize how dependent you are on power. But it is a good reminder, like, that cash is important as well, because to state the obvious, if you've got 5 billion Bitcoin, but there's a massive power cut and the apocalypse hits, it doesn't matter how much you've got, you ain't going to be buying a local cow with any Bitcoin. You're going to need some small denomination cash. So be ready for when, if and when that happens. Keep cash, I would say, as well, is one of those.
We're told, the government have told. Well, we don't have a government here. The second one is the government's already dissolved itself twice, so we're doing really well. But before they got into this sort of malaise, political malaise, that was been the thing all year, is a survival kit for the apocalypse. Sorry, not apocalypse. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, Russian. Yeah. So that's sort of like this Russian kit we're supposed to have, and real money. You should be strongly advising everybody to have real money, because the talk here is that we're already in the middle of a cyber war, and you know they'll just take out the Russians or whoever it is will take out all this infrastructure that we have, and then, like you say, you'll have to rip out your hard disk and go and hit somebody on the head with it and rob them of cash that way.
Well, me and my friends have a running joke, which is, we believe when there's all these power outages, they always blame Russian hackers for everything. And, my belief is, especially in the UK, you had companies like Marks and Spencer's recently, who their entire system supposedly, went offline for a while. And I think it's that where they're normalizing these things. So at some point, the entire system will be switched off. And then you'll really separate the men from the boys, because some of my friends that have been prepping for years, who've been laughed at by their friends, they'll be the ones that are having a knock on the door saying, can we come around with our kids, because we've got no food, no heat, no water, and no way to defend ourselves. So, it's a time to be prepared, to be honest. Steven, any last thoughts before we go to our lost and found segment?
No, I think just, if you want to get into crypto, just go in with your eyes open, just understand what it is. It's a very, very open market. Quintessentially or essentially, it's just a technology, right? So if you have an understanding of the technology, it's not a scam or not a scam or whatnot. It's just a technology, right? And you can legitimately transact with crypto 100% if you want to, if you know how to. At the moment, unfortunately, there's quite a lot of friction in that, but you can 100% exist on crypto today, and it's actually quite useful. Yeah,
something to think about.
Okay. Do you have a website, Steven? Is that something we can add to our notes, and somewhere that if anybody wants to talk to you a little bit more about this, that they can get in touch with you, or do you want to remain anonymous so that they can't find you?
No, mate, I've got my thing. Yeah.
LinkedIn.
It's just that at .co.uk. Yeah. So it's marginsyndicate.co.uk or .com.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay.
We're just going to run a quick. We have a little segment at the end of Lost and Found. David, I'll let you take.
I don't know if you want to stay with us, Steven, for this, but this is our weekly Lost and Found.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and found, because every dollar has a story.
David, can you put my one up so I can go first?
Yes, we'll get you up there straight away. There we go.
Who doesn't love winning a bit of money? But I was reading a man in Baltimore County, Maryland, using the alias Tank. I don't know why that's of any relevance. Unexpectedly struck gold when he found he'd won $1 million playing a scratch card off for a lottery ticket. The interesting thing is he bought the ticket with an extra $20 he found in his pocket whilst picking up some ice. And I always love that, where it's just that luck thing of sliding doors. You know, if you hadn't have done it, and I'm not saying go and find all your spare cash and spunk it on lottery tickets, but how life can change. And I'll just drop into that. I worked at Steven might know the company, at Glencore, which is one of the biggest kind of trading and precious metals and what have you companies in the world. And I was only a young pup, and I was involved in the lottery syndicate with the people in my team. And I basically was on a really small salary because I was young. So I pulled out the syndicate because I had no money left each month to get drunk and go to my nightclubs. And a week or two later, they won 5 numbers and a bonus on the lottery, and they won about £60,000. And I missed out on it. So I'm not bitter, but I still go to bed at night crying about it.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So this is a found dollar then.
This is a found dollar for this guy. Found 20 and turned it into Milski, basically.
There you go.
David, your name?
Love it.
I normally go last. That's
no, I'll go.
Oh yeah, sorry, Nick.
Yeah. I'll go next. So yeah. So this is a bit of a. Sorry. We're not on our bicycles at the moment generating power, so we're okay. So I have a bit of an interesting one. Maggie Beer Holdings. The official report is the fact that they lost 24 million. It's Australian food brand. But interestingly enough, their growth in sales is probably about 20-30%. But because of their structural write-downs and the costly sale of one of their farming subsidiaries, I think it kind of literally turned everything around. So you look at the business, and it's quite an interesting one because you look at the business, and the whole business is actually the trajectory is up. But actually, when you look at the money, like there's a $24 million loss, so not even in pounds, dollar. So it's quite a fascinating story, and to look at the how capital is used, how certain divisions within a business then obviously affect the upper. And I gave a story a couple of weeks ago as well, where one of the group is doing really well, but the divisions are struggling, and then where people make decisions. So this is an interesting one. It's a bit of a. Do you have one for both, Dave? Like a lost and found?
Well, this is the lost, and this is the found.
There you go.
There you go. So a bit of both. Yeah.
Let's see what David's got. As long as he's not anything to do with dildos today, because he had one of those the other week. So.
Yeah. Well, we do our best. We do our best. No, this is something quite serious. Potentially, because this is one of those classic Jam Tomorrow stories. So I'm gonna go this, and then I'm gonna let you have a look at it. This Korean university have now found a way to print batteries. So they actually be able to print them with ink, which is good, which will be truly amazing. Because if it takes off, if they can work this technology through, you have to be able to actually be able to paint batteries on any structure. And of course, we all know that the problem is with all this, greening, the green world that we're moving towards. The issues there are, the weight. Have you ever seen an electric car? So if these people get it together, then that's it could be really, really interesting going forward. Early doors, but we like to get in early on this show. That's all I can say.
Get ahead of the curve as opposed to flattening the curve.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I always blows my mind because I'm just not technically minded, and I can never comprehend with my tiny brain that's filled with all other more important stuff of how you print a battery and that works. But maybe you guys have got bigger brains than me. Stephen, before we leave, I'd love to hear your thoughts on electric cars. Do you have one?
Absolutely not.
No.
You know, I was going to say that, mate. It's just like, what a setup. No, I don't. So I'm like very practically minded, right? So like, I want something to be superior if I'm going to buy it, so I don't consider it superior. I drove a Tesla for a while. It was fun. The acceleration's nice on it, yeah. So that's the fun part, but just we're not ready. Yeah, I think it's cart before the horse. I think we'll get there, but it just doesn't make any sense at the moment, right? Yeah.
I want to talk about that on another episode at some point. So I'll find someone that maybe is, for the sad thing is I know several people that have had electric cars or have been forced to because they're company cars and they're not a fan. And what's funny is when they mention it online, they get like, it's like a cult, people having a go at them saying, you're being horrible at electric cars. They're like, it's just my lived experience that I have like range fatigue and fear because I'm trying to drive around and I have to keep plugging this fucking thing in all the time. So we're not against the principle of it.
I'll go back to Stephen's they, and my they is this, right? My they is that the people that are behind electric cars are no other than the McDonald's Corporation, because every time you need to charge your car up, the only place you can do it is outside of a McDonald's restaurant. So there you go. That's my conspiracy theory of today. So you can spend half an hour waiting to get your car all juiced up.
What a way to show with conspiracy theories about McDonald's and electric vehicles and all interlinked. Nothing would surprise me these days, basically.
No.
Well, look, Stephen, I really appreciate. I really enjoy reading your stuff on LinkedIn because I'm trying to learn more about it, and you kind of simplify often what can be a fairly tough subject to fully understand. So I also appreciate you're there, and also just coming on the show because I think crypto is one of those things that the more we talk about it in a sensible way, the more people can try and understand it and maybe dabble in it themselves at some point.
Yeah, like I think quintessentially, crypto is quite British, as I was saying. Like it's about money, it's about liberty. So yeah, I hope so. Like we can dispel that. Try and keep people safe. I really appreciate you saying if I'm making it accessible, that's important to me. So thank you.
It's a pleasure, David.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it's all about liberty, all I can say is off with their heads. That's it's been the way forward.
But as always, for those watching, firstly, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Why wouldn't you have done? And also, if you want to comment your thoughts on crypto, good, bad, indifferent, couldn't give a shit, or you love it, let us know. We'd be interested to read it. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys.